Okay, so this is about the best view I can get of Thunder Hole. Maybe I can get a little bit closer, but I just soon not fall in. Thunder Hole developed along a joint pattern, and you see the ocean comes in and the waves crash, and you can maybe see in the side closest to the bottom of the screen that there's a little overhang there, and it forms a hollow like a cave. And when the tide is low, the waves just come in and crash. You may have heard a good thunder there. But what's going on here is the waves come in and trap air in that cave, and when the air escapes, it makes that boom sound that you might have heard. I just stand here and video for a little while, but this is kind of a result of erosion along a joint pattern and wave energy being used to break down the rocks. That was a pretty good one. Usually at the visitor center when it's open, you can get a time when you should stand here and get the best action from the Thunder Hole. Most of the times I've been here, I haven't been that lucky. So consequently, I haven't heard it thunder that much. But it's still a pretty impressive little spot here. I hope that the thundering is not washed out by the wind activity. When I got here today and first started doing this field trip, the tide was pretty low. So it may have gotten to the point now where it's too high to actually make the thunder. But we'll stay and see if anything happens. Well, this might be a good one. That wasn't too loud, but you could get the idea of what's going on. So for this part of the trip, I'm gonna hike up to Cadillac Cliffs. Shouldn't take me too long. You get the best part of this deal because I'm gonna walk and you just gotta wait. So as soon as I get up there, we'll do what we wanted to take a look at, and I'll talk to you then. Give me a few minutes. Okay, I haven't gone too far, but I wanted to stop at and look at the map here because this is where we are. We're at the parking lot, and we started walking up here. And then we're going to take the Cadillac Cliff Trail, and I want to show you some geologic features along the way there. So it's a short trip, not too far, and there's no snow. So I'm going to run up there and take a look, and then I'll show you some more of the geology on Cadillac Cliffs. Be there soon. And I'll walk a little bit along through here and take some pictures, video, so you can actually see what the trail looks like. I didn't want to do it for the whole way because that would probably get really boring and repetitive. And I was walking faster than I normally would. You couldn't ask for a better day for geology today. The sky's blue, it's like in the 40s. I'm gonna take you over and we'll take a look at this outcrop. Mainly what I want to show you is underneath the overhang, there's a little bronze plaque in here for Waldron Bates. And underneath it says Pathmaker. And he's the one who actually created most of the trails and pathways in Acadia National Park. Not all of them, because some of them were developed by the Civilian Conservation Corps in the 1920s. But take a look at the rock underneath here, and maybe there's too much light, but you should be able to see all the pink in there is feldspar, and the pink color comes from the fact that there's iron in with the potassium and the aluminum and the silica and the oxygen. And it's coarse grained, so we would call this particular rock a granite. Okay, I'm going into the entrance to the Cadillac Cliffs Trail, and this is really kind of a cool aspect. You kind of come in and go through this little cavern, canyon, I mean, as you walk around. And here's another really cool part of the Cadillac Mountain Trail. It's quite interesting in the wintertime when you get all kinds of ice coming down the faces as the snow starts to melt. And another little aperture to go through. Take a look at the icicles hanging off the face of this rock and the ice flow. You can see that water has a really impressive part of the erosion and weathering of the rocks in Acadia National Park from the time they were accumulated to right through today. And I'm going to head up through this one. I'm almost to the place I want to be at, but we'll get there in a couple of minutes. I'm just going to shut off the video for a while. So this is the reason I walked up here to show you this. This is evidence, again, in the background there. You can see those two very round or spherical boulders that are up in the back, caught in this cave. And what that indicates is that at one time, the beach was here. The rocks were being rounded and rolled around, and I'm going to take you and show you one of those beaches at sea level today. And we've probably come up about 200 feet from sea level here. And again, this is related to the fact that when the continental ice sheet came down, it depressed the land. And then when the ice melted, sea level rose up and the land started to rise. So consequently, they made rounded boulders, and it was high enough energy that the smaller stuff like sand and silt and clay and even gravel got washed away. And I think you'll be more impressed. There's another place where there's a raised beach where you can actually see the boulders just like Otter Cliffs. And unfortunately, the carriage paths aren't open yet, but when they do, I hope I'll get up here and be able to take that and add it to the video. So here's what I came to show you, and I hope it was worth the walk. View from Cadillac. Here's a view from Cadillac Cliffs, which should give you an idea of how high I am now above the ocean from when I started, pretty much near sea level. And it may also explain why I'm breathing a little bit harder, because I've climbed up pretty good in elevation. You might not be able to see this, but in my path down, I'm taking a little bit slower break, a little bit of time. And you can notice here, very similar to where we saw at Thunderhole, you can see that there's this diamond-shaped joining pattern that is apparent that illustrates there's at least two different directions of stress being applied on the rocks here in Acadia National Park. And I apologize, my shadow's in the way. I'm trying to move so I can get a better view. Now I'm probably going to have the sun reflecting off things. But you get an idea, there's this diamond pattern in the outcrop. And those usually develop perpendicular to the force being applied. It's a great day for geology, no problem about it. Look at back towards Sand Beach, so much clearer, no clouds in the sky. Beautiful day in the park. I wish I could say I had it all to myself like on Thursday, but there's a ton of people here. I'm trying to keep away from them all, but I would advocate that you come during the week to come to Acadia. So I brought you out here to take a look at this. This is called Monument Cove, and the monument comes from the big sea stack that's in the distance here. This actually is granite that is separated away due to the joining in the rocks. You also can see the horizontal joints here in the outcrop that goes along with the two vertical sets of joints. And if you actually look at the boulders down in the bottom here, this is a beach that is really unlike lots of other beaches in Maine. This is really made of boulders that there's nothing down there for scale. But I hope I'm going to take you over to the Otter Cliffs Boulder Beach, and you'll be able to see the size of the boulders. There's nothing really in here for scale, but up at the top, there's a car going by. So it'll give you an idea what the size is. As I pan around here, you can see the granite from the Cadillac Mountain granite. And then looking in the distance, if we zoom in, what you can see is Sand Beach, where I took you on the other day when it was kind of overcast and drizzly. And going out here, you can look at the very end, that's Schooner Head. And a little bit further, that island right there is called Old Soaker. And if we come back along there's Sand Beach, and in the background, that's the Beehive. If you ever come out here, the Beehive is a really quick hike. You can do it in about 2 hours. It's not even a mile and a half, but it does go up vertically. Most of the way up is you're going pretty much straight up on switchbacks. You can then take that down the path here, the ridge line, and come down to Gorham Mountain. But the coolest part here is the boulders and the sea stack at Monument Cove, and I would take you down there, but I can take you to the boulders that are at Otter Cliffs a lot quicker. So we'll be satisfied with that. The waves are also a lot more calm today than they were before, and I was going to stop at Thunderhole, but the Thunderhole wasn't really thundering at all, so I have to skip that. You got better views the other day, and that also plays into the fact of going to Thunderhole. So I'm going to stop here. I'm going to go down to Otter Cliffs Beach, show you some video of Otter Cliffs and the Boulder Beach there. And if I get down actually on the rocks, you'll see how big they are. So I moved down the coast south a little bit further, and I ended up at Otter Cliffs Beach. And these are some of the boulders. I'm actually standing on them. And it's a little bit tricky to walk here because you've probably seen a cartoon of some sort when the coyote or whatever runs into a room and there's marbles all over the floor, or maybe the Three Stooges. And that's kind of what it's like here, because these things are pretty round, and when you step on them, they tend to roll. As I panned around here, I've turned around to where I'm actually looking at Otter Cliffs. Otter Cliffs is a big head wall where there's erosion going on. You can see the horizontal joints in there. In the summertime, there's a lot of people come here and go rock climbing on the cliffs there. Let me see if I can get down and show you the scale of some of these boulders here. While I'm here, I also want to talk a little bit about these rocks in general, these rounded boulders. In the 1700s and 1800s, beaches like this were extensively mined. Mined for what purpose? They were used as ballast stones. When we built wooden ships and that needed to go across the ocean and places like that, they would be really tippy because wood really floats. And consequently, they would need some weight in the bottom of the boat to keep it stable. And these were a harvestable commodity, and companies would come and mine the beaches and take all the boulders and use them as ballast. And then when the ships got to another port, they might not need the ballast, so they would dump it out. So consequently, you find these ballast stones like all over the world coming from Maine. And even in places where there's shipwrecks, like in Bermuda, a lot of the older shipwrecks are found by the fact that there's a pile of rock that's not limestone, either metamorphic or igneous rock that came from someplace else. And when the ship sank, all the wood deteriorated, and we're just left with a odd pile of extraneous rocks from somewhere else. So another part of the story.